But right now, it's my great pleasure to introduce Yasmin Mohammed Kahin, who I just met for the first time this evening, and it's a great pleasure. Yasmin is a pioneering Somali playwright, poet, and filmmaker. Her work, as we'll hear, often addresses social issues and particularly situations around young people and women and vulnerable communities. She has worked for the BBC as a radio drama actor and writer, and is currently living in Ethiopia with her family, although she's just been on a US tour, so she's joining us at the end of that. We've met Alto in the first half. Alto collaborated with Anna Selby on the 3 commissioned translations that you're going to hear this evening. And Anna is a British poet and naturalist, author of the chapbook Field Notes, which was written underwater. And she's previously co-translated a poem for the Poetry Translation Centre for this wonderful anthology, which I think I shouldn't be showing you because apparently there aren't copies outside, but it's So At One With You, which is an anthology of Somali poetry. And it's amazing, everybody has contributed to this wonderful volume, and I think you can get it from the Poetry Translation Centre website. But Anna contributed a co-translation of Amran Ahmed for that book. So it's lovely to be united with the Somali poetry again. So as we did in the first half, I'm going to invite Alto to give a few words of introduction into Yasmin's poetry.
Thank you. Yasmin Kahin is an inspiring young poet. She's immensely popular among the Somalis living in the Horn of Africa. Her poetry focuses on the issues of youth empowerment, environment, and the power of positive thinking. While nowadays majority of the young Somali poets' themes focus daily politics and clan confrontation, Yasmin focuses the burning issues of the society. For example, youth unemployment, as we know, majority of the formally educated young people are unemployed. Gender inequality, educational disparities, income inequality. Her poem is new and old, touched young readers across the Horn of Africa. She captured the imagination of many young Somalis. As far as the translation is concerned, I and Anna were an extremely far away distances. I was in Helsinki, she was in London when we started translating Yasmin's poems in English. We were corresponding each other with emails. The only question she raised after she finished the literal translation of mine and made it into a real translation was the poem Suffering, the first paragraph, and that's it. So I'm very, very happy the way she translated, and she's a very good translator. And this time it's her second translation in Somali. Thank you.
So, Yasmin, hello. We're going to be hearing 3 poems in translation this evening, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about each of them to sort of let us into the world of the poems before we hear them. So, Avenues of Learning is a poem that seems to me to speak about education being a way to a better life. And I was really interested to know how you came to write this poem and what the theme of that means to you. Why did you want to write it?
Thank you, everyone. Happy wanaagsan. Thank you, Ayan. London Literature Festival, Somali Week Festival, and Alto and Anna. It's really brilliant work that they did to work with me, as they did my mentors before. And it's really honor for me that Alto, who translated my mentor Hadrawi and Gariye, did my small words, and Anna also. The avenue of learning came from a place of a deep belief in the power of education to transform lives. In Somali culture, oral storytelling and poetry are cherished, so I wanted to use that traditional to show how knowledge can break cycles of struggles. Education to me is more than a series of lessons. It's like a period of hope and progress. When I wrote this poem, I wanted each word to carry that promise of better future. I hope it speaks to others about the value of learning is a lifelong journey. So it was almost 14 years now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my next question was also about the that length of time, 14 years, because the other two poems that we're going to hear this evening are written this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I often like to ask poets about their development over time and how they see their work and themselves. But do you feel different from the poet you were 14 years ago, or are the things that you care about still the same?
Of course, over the past 14 years, my journey as a poet has been one of discovering of my purpose. In the beginning, my poetry was more personal, but over time, it became a way to connect with the other people and bring light to our shared experience. Now, poetry is not just for me. It's for the community to honor our culture and our collective stories. And I often come to see poetry as a bridge of something that connects us all, no matter where we are from. So.
So one of the subjects that your poetry addresses, and we'll hear suffering, is on this theme, is a lament for what's happening to the environment and the climate, which is a subject that poets from all around the world are addressing and really concerned about. Can you give us the context of the horn when it comes to thinking about climate change and thinking about the damage to the environment? Why does it matter for you?
The environment is so close to my heart, especially coming from the Horn of Africa, where climate change has left us such a physical impact. Suffering is a both reflection on this imbalance and a call to awareness. I wanted to show that while the effects of climate change are intense in one place, the issue is universal. And in the Horn, we experience droughts and extreme weather that disrupt life. So this poem is a way to express that urgency and call for action to the Horn and the world at large.
Thank you. And then it's sort of funny to do the discussion of the poems before we hear the poems. We'll have to keep the ideas in our minds when we hear the work. But the last poem that was translated by Alto and Anna for this event, Build Your Power Slowly, is about this resistance and this action. But the way, when I read the translation, it really made me think that it was speaking of resistance, but in a way that was not just about strength and action, but about balance and harmony. And there's a line, have self-stability, self-peace, and let the earth settle down around you. And I wanted to ask about this idea of balance and order why do you have that in your poetry?
Balance has always been important to me, both personally and spiritually. In Build Your Power Slowly, I wanted to talk about resilience and patience, not just in resistance to talk about resilience and patience only, but in finding inner peace. When I say have self-stability, self-peace, and let the earth settle down around you, it's a reminder that true strength starts from within, especially in times of turmoil. The grounding can help us move forward with purpose and calm and
Thank
stability.
you. I'm reminded of what Claire was reflecting in the first half about the ability in Somali poetry traditions to be declarative and to be confident in making statements, which is something it's not fashionable at the moment in English poetry, but it's so wonderful to hear that kind of confidence and assuredness. So you're very important, a female poet and playwright, very inspirational. Do you have advice for younger writers who are women as they make their journey in this art form?
Of course. Being a woman in the arts from the home is incredibly meaning to me. I feel responsibility to be a voice for myself and for the other women as well, whose stories deserve to be heard. To young women writers, I would say, don't hold back. Let your voice be heard and bring your unique experience to the page. Writing is our strength, and it's essential that we have more voice in the arts sharing their stories. So that's the one thing I want to tell you. Share your stories, every language, Somali, like me, a crap English. So we have to tell our stories in every language.
Thank you. And before we hear the poems, I just wanted to ask Anna. This is as Alto was mentioning, it's your second time co-translating a poem from Somali, and it's different from what Claire has experienced working with Alto and Said to work on someone's body of work and get to know their voice over a long period. You've kind of dived into one poem where it's kind of a lot of work to find out who that poet is, and you've done it now for two different female poets, and I was wondering if you could reflect on the differences in those experiences and what you might have learned along the way.
Yeah. Well, it's been a gift, really, and I got the poems one at a time, and it was like waiting for the next instalment. I couldn't wait I wanted to be with the poem I was working with and with Alto's translation, but I also couldn't wait for the next one and then the next one and all the others. And I found it incredibly inspiring for me as a writer, and with both experiences, the poems are incredibly potent and powerful, and they kind of reverberate almost. And so in the translations, I wanted to honor the kind of energy and directness of them, and the voice, which feels like you're sat right next to this really wise person who, and I wanted to, it felt like there was a fire there, and I wanted to sit up and lean in, and there's this aliveness in the poetry. Yeah.
Thank you. You have worked with so many different combinations of translators and poets, and on many different poets' work. There might be translators in the audience who are learning their craft. Do you have any advice for translators who are starting out, who might want to do it themselves or work with other people? What would you advise?
First, I should have to say to Anna, I have worked with many different poets who were translating the Somali poems. what is amazing for Anna is automatically she translated the poems very effectively and very, you see, understandably to the British audience or to the English speakers. So she did a very fantastic work. And we haven't seen each other. Today was the first.
I didn't get to have tea with Alto.
So she is very different from other translators. That's my opinion, anyway. About the translators, I think first and foremost, you should have to know the original language of the poem. For example, if you are a Somali, you should have to know the language well. Otherwise, you cannot do anything at all. Because the language, Somali language, for example, those who were born here in England or elsewhere outside their country, I think the advice that I give them is to learn their mother tongue first and foremost. Then after that, they can easily, because they speak the language, they know the English language very well, they can easily translate the poems into English, into the British audiences. As a Somali, I was trained as a teacher at Somali Education College in Afgoye, Somalia. And my major was English and minor was Somali. So from that time onwards, I was just every now and then either reading Somali poetry or listening, because majority of them were in cassettes. And you should have to, because nobody was writing the poems itself in the 70s and 80s. So the only thing that you can do is to listen from audio record and cassettes. And then I was trying then, after that, to write down what the audio was telling me, then trying to at least try my best to translate it a little bit there and here and there. And then after that, I was studying in Russia, and Russia language is the most poetic language ever, in anywhere in the world, truly speaking. And I looked at the translation English version of the poems, classical poems of Russia, in Russian language as well as in English. So whenever you see the English version, you just forget it. The original is the best. So what I advise those who are now want to become a translator is first they should have to learn their own mother tongue. That's the main thing. Thank you.
And if you're on that journey and are interested in learning a bit more about the craft of translation or just meeting other people who like it, the Poetry Translation Centre does run regular workshops where you can have a go. So have a look on their website for more information. Okay, let's hear the poems that we've been talking about. Yasmin, will you read to us?
bal afkeennii aynu channelka waa la iga soo fasaxay nabiga ma ku saleenaa horta maansadan waxaa la yidhaahdaa himilada tacliinta waxayna ku bilaabmaysaa hawraarta maansada 14 sano ka hor baan sameeyo dee xilligaa socod barad baan ahay hawraarta maansada qofba wuxuu habeeyaa heesana ka curiyaa intuu hibo u leeyahay aniguna hankaygii hodantida afkayga iyo hantidayda gaarka in yaraan ka haabtee hilimada najaaxee nolosha u horseedka aan ka rogo hagoogtee hooyadii wanaagsani ilmahay habaysay hoobay ku korisaa bilowga hooyaduba dee halkaasoo afku inooga yimaadaayo heesta ayaa laynagu baraa afka. Hage weeye bilanoo iyadaa ha barayso alifkay higaadiyo hadaaq ugu bilowdaa ku hanuunisaa abid inuu heer ku gaadhee ilmihii hagaagsani halqabsiga aqoontu baradaa ka helayba uga dhigan hoggaano horusacod ka dhigo oo hami toosan geliyo jahli heeryadiisiyo higilkaa ka rogo oo guusha u horseedo ummadana hoggaansha. inkastoo hacoo badan hooyo soo anqariso xashiishka iyo jaadkii harawiinta cunayo ka habaabay dowgii ku hoos nool adduunyada, balse hanadadeenow hulka yoom kaliileed adigoo haraad qaba hanfi uu ku marayo hinraag daraaddii hareeraha ka dayay biyo haantana gunteedii goror aanu kuba hadhin hogol curatay goorta sidaad ugu hamuuntaa tacliintiyo higaadana naftu ugu hilowda. ruuxaan aqoon helin hingal baa u saarane hanaqaad filkaygow jahli iyo habeennimo kugu heer cadaawuhu hiigsigaaga dheere ciiddaada hooyaa cilmi loo horseedaa lagu hiigsadaa nolol hulka iyo cadceedaha hadhac looga beeraa hawkar laga fogeeya. hanashadu ha badatee himiladu ha baahdee ha la galo iskuullada ha la helo aqoon badan durustuna ha horto ha hadhaysa dagalkee ha la galo hayaan dheer iyadaa hubaashii hebednimada biisoo halyay kaa dhigayso waa hoy ammaano hoostiisu wacantoo haybta kaa mideeyee horseedkii aqoontiiyo hiliyaha afkaygow heeriyada mugdiga dhiga himilada tacliintiya aan hormayna samahee heegankeeda nala gala.
Avenues of learning. The way poems are uttered, heard, if they are taken in, strummed to, sung, all hinges on how talented the makers become. My words thrum to achieve this. Through the richest fabrics of my language, the finery of my eloquent tongue, I make poems that echo between people, whose call your whole body responds to. Let me reveal my meaning with a parable. A quintessential great mother does all she can for her child, bringing her baby up with hoobie songs. She is mentor, confidant, teacher, showing how to speak for others and ourselves, to sound out phonemes like beads on a string, guiding her children from prattling babbles through rounded vowels, consonants, first words to commands. A child who aims one day to do good, draws from the first lessons of their mother received at home, a drama, and they're the main character, playing the role of a trailblazer, initiating, decisively taking action, freeing others from ignorance to illumination, throwing flares into darkness, igniting themselves to succeed, to lead people. Many who are not shown this path are crumbling, smoking hash, grinding cat between stained teeth, heroin needle pushed into a punctured vein, letting themselves become lost, half living in a half-lit world. But first, my abled listeners, a fable. Midday, summer, the sun is splitting the rocks. You thirst, dehydrated. Hot winds billow dust around you. Gasping for air, struggling to breathe, you look for a source of water to drink. The wooden bucket you're swinging is too light. Not even a droplet rolls around inside it. Then grey clouds loom, rain splashes thick as ropes. Everything thirsts. This is the same wanting to learn, for something to benefit all of society. the same way a soul yearns to be quenched. A person without an education is like a widower in mourning clothes. Yes, my contemporaries, a wicked enemy wants you to be illiterate, to not gain knowledge, to stay oblivious, study hard, and stay focused. Your motherland needs you to want to make it possible for this place to be one of wisdom, striving to make it better for all to survive, record temperatures blistering everything. Plant shade trees to mop up the heat, make it habitable, more livable. By acting and trying, let your aspirations spread. Let more people go to school more often. Let new learning and awareness grow. Let lessons tumble through an undammed stream. Let us put ideas into action in our communities. Let us run, beaming, into the opening of a new epic. It is education that offers us a metamorphosis, that transforms a person once not filled with dreams and makes them a hero in their own biopic. It is a place where you can be shielded. It foreshadows the good that will knock at your door. It unites everyone's origins and makes us one nation. The change makers who champion education advance my language by sharing their words. Throw off the awful deeds of ignorance and illiteracy. Enhance the educational hopes of the next generation. Let us step forward now, moral and honourable. Join us and rise to make a myriad of stories real. So for the next poem, I'll read it first and then Yasmin will read. Suffering. Everything in our world, a house and a domed hut, and the beams that hold a home up, aren't they all just interlaced structures? Weighing everything equally, Allah leveled each one. His creation of living beings intricately balanced. Humans punctured the systems that support us, caused runoff, droughts, floods, scarred the landscape, made livestock's bones bulge in drying pastures. The landsmen damaged, determined to wipe out trees, pulling clumps of shrubs, uprooting and decimating forests, hanging precariously together. The state of the earth's existence in the countryside or in a city is the same. Nutrients from farmed animals for milk, food, and nourishment, agricultural crop seeds form life's sustenance. Those creatures that crawl, birds, game, and prey, all living beings, cry out at how we've harmed their habitats. Human beings who failed to act in the past gathered at a funeral to entomb their own future, forgetting their actions could still alter the consequences. They've buried our inheritance. Instead of thinking ahead of the needs of future children, those that could have lived will be lost.
waanigiyo marka la soo noqday maansadan arami baa la yiraahdaa deegaankayna ka waramay idilkii adduun aqal iyo dhigtii iyo udubka xoog sow maaha ood miisaan islaag simay eebbihii abuurkiisa guud isu dheeli tiray intii dad falay aafadii u dhigay iyo eebadii abarxaalufkii arligii u gubay geedkuu ajalay edagii ka gudub aad gibilka sare isa sudhanta nolol is ahaanshaheed inta miyigu tahay in magaalo taal oonta xoolihii irmaan caanihii dalagii iniin urquunkii naflaha in xamaaratiyo shimbir iyo ugaadh idil noolihii aadame ka cabay ina aadankii tagtadii ilduuf axan aayihii timaadada ilow dhaxalkiina aas intifaacsigii ubadkiyo xigtada u dambayn lahaa tan kale aan kaga horeeyo ana intaanay waxaa la yidhaahdaa maansadan qun yar soco itaalka inta aad ka lagidahay utun qabin calooleed uurka kuu nadiif yahay hadba arami gocashale larhka kuu abuurayn waxaad tahay ilayskii isu baxay iftiinshee mugdi tiray adduunkii inta nabadda kuu taal obocdiyo boggaaga oogada timaado kuu astaysa nolosho kuu furaysa iridaha inta lagu tanaadee isxasili isnabadee arliguna ha kaa dego ruuxii ismahadshee isbida awoodaha eebbaheenu gaarka ifka wuu inkaarmaa aakhirana warkeedee adoo libinku raadsi ah ha addoonsan qayrkaa adiguna ha hoos tegin is ahaanshahaagiyo nafta aaminkeediyo isu dhibirsanaantaad adigu isa siisaa uunka kalena gaadhee afaan hadimo talinayn addin laga ammaan helo qun yar soco itaalka
Build your power slowly. As long as your power is peaceful, not with a flint or fuel of bitterness, replacing negativity with positivity, sitting with uncomfortable memories without dwelling in them. You are the light, guiding and in full beam. The darkest curve of the globe glows, lit. For as long as you are in perfect sense of serenity, coupled with an inner, embodied stability, rise to the surface, kick up to breathe in your goal. Define your life as a person of note, opening every door of opportunity to yourself that allows people to have means, be enriched, have self-stability, self-peace, and let the earth settle down around you. A person who is too important, desiring power over rather than power with, which is exceptional to our Almighty Allah, the Lord might curse his attitude. And only God knows what's held in the afterworld. Attempting to triumph over people, do not enslave your peers, and you will not go under into servitude either. Understanding and embracing all by being yourself, trusting your dreams and steps forward, holding close to patience in challenging situations, having the ability to cope with and recover from setbacks. These are the things that raise awareness and inspire people. A mouth that does not encourage any rash actions and a hand which injures no one. Build your strength, but effortlessly.
Thank you so much. I know. So those three translations, we were the very first people to hear them because they're new for this event. So thank you so much for making that. So To close the event, Yasmin is going to share one final poem which has not yet been translated, so we're going to just hear it in Somali.
maansadan waxaa la yidhaahdaa dhaymo waxaanay ka hadlaysaa doorka inta badan halabuurka wuxuu ka hadlaa doorka hooyadu nolosha ku leedahay marka bal aabuhu door nooc maaba ku leeyahay nolosha qofka bini'aadamka hadduu ka maqan yahay gaar ahaan hablaha ka maansadan cidii ku dhayanaysa iyo intayada ku dhayatayba midla wadaaga dhaymaa la yiraahdaa waxay leedahay aabbo anigoonan dhalan dhexdii hooyaday ku jira fogaanta dhulka tagtaa duruus adagii dhigo waxay dhilayaan kashii dhabtii ku oomanayd aabbo ruuxday dhambalan waxay jaban labada dhaad dhexdaanan ka liicaya dhibaabo fog baan tawdaa anoo nool baan dhintaa tiyoon iilay dhexgeyn inaanan dhabtaa ku korin dhaqaaqa agtaa ku baran kolkaan dhaco aadi qaban waxaan ka dhaxlaa bato waxaan dhababaa gunaad dhaawacyo guunaan tola intaa waan dheeliyaa waxaan u dhacaa jilbaha lafaha dhabarkay hanqadha dhibbaan ka mutaa xusuus dhallaannimo igala timi maqnaantaadii ku dhigan waxaan dhowraa tagtada shishaanan u dhaadayaa intaan dhamac soo hirqaday intaan soo dhamay qadhaadh ka dhaansaday ciil qarsoon dhabbaan hibitaynaya hoos baan isu dhuganayaa gudaan ka dhaxmoonayaa cillaan dhalandhoolayaa waayuhu idhirbaaxayaan dhulkaan faadhfaadhayaa wakhtigu igu dhaafayaa qalbiga dhiilaa ku furan dhawaaqyo fog buu maqlaa humaagyadu dhuuxayaa dhimbiilay igu shidaan ilmaa dhibic iga tidhaa anoon hadal baan dhurma mar baan dheeftaba nacaa dhabtii anigoon aqoon wixii dhadhankayga helay mar bay idhibtaa hurdadu dhafarka wehelaanbidaa dhafoorkayguna gutaa intaa dhaymaantabaa naftaan dhibriyaa itaal dardaaran ku dhaamiyaa dadaalna ku dhaariyaa waxaan u dhigaa shidaal jidkaa dheeraan ku maro dhagaha maqalkaan xidhaa daayaha araggaan furtaa sibaan isu dhaafiyaa dharaaraha daalka badan waxaan dhur sugaa rajada idhaafshay nasiibku shalay xilliga dheeraynayaan dheeldheel ka ilaaliyaa inaan ku dham'aan nacaa ifkaan dhalanteedka badan intaan dhadamooda roob runtiiyo beenta isku dhafan dhiiggiisa midkaana how dhabtay aabbahay rumow kolkaana dhaqaynin qoys dantaa dhangadaysa ruux wuxuuna noqdaa dhammaas dhaliiluhu way qabtaan dhigiina ma gaadho ruux haddaana dhammaystirayn kudhaca adi kaa helayn u dhigayn labadaada garab awoodda badhbaa ka dhiman dhudhunkaan xooggaa ku jirin dhegtoodaad tahay hablaha kolkaad dhooldhoolisaa dhabeelnimo loo mutaa dhaxdini isxil saaraysaa xaqeeda la dhowrayaa dhurwaagu ka baydhaya keliyaha lagu dhiiradow dhuuxii layga beerayow quruxda noloshaad dhistaa waxaad dhalisaa ilays waxaad dhidibtaa adduun dhig iyo udubkii mudda keliyaha lagu dhiiradow ducaan kuu dhoobayaa sujuuddaan faral dhigaba eebbaan dhab u tuugayaa kolkaad dhimatiyo haddaba raxmaan kaa dhowr cadaab jannada dhiilkeeda culo waad mahadsantihiin dee salligii nebigaan idinku xidhaya bureeqada nebi ayaa badda kaga tallaabo bureeqada nebi ayaa badda kaga tallaabo udgono muxamed yaa baashiisa dege jiibtii meeday ayaa samsamkii salaada kuwaa baristo ayaa samsamkii salaada kuwa bariisto udgoonow maxamed yaa baashiisa degay ayaa xaramkii tagoo dhabu soo xarmado ayaa xaramkii tagoo dhabu soo xarmado udgoonow maxamed yaa baashiisa degay nabigaan ku salno oo aad iyo aad baa umahadsantihiin thank you very much
Yasmin, thank you Anna, thank you Alto, thank you Ashley, thank you Claire. What an evening. Thank you to Kai, Somali Arts and Culture, thank you to the Poetry Translation Centre and the South Bank Centre, the Arts Council. So I think